Carbonite Cold Open question of the week, Freebot.
Good evening, Urs. Good evening, Hall.
Iconic plug-and-play characters like Captain Phasma, Captain Rex, and even Stormtrooper Han once dominated as leaders on the Holotable. Do you prefer that style of kit, or do you enjoy the more finite teams like the recent Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano kit with specific callouts and ties to other kits?
Definitely prefer the plug and play. I love theory crafting. I love team comp building. I'm not necessarily, a genius at it, but I still enjoy trying it and just seeing what other people do. So characters like Thrawn and Watt, any of those characters that you can plug in, even more recently, the new Ezra, Ezra Exile, he's a lot of fun because you can put him with Rey, Jedi, multiple Jedi teams, and of course that's not where he even ultimately belongs. So I definitely prefer the plug and play character over something that's just standard to fit in a 3 or 5 man team.
Yeah, I was just not glaring, but longing at my roster. Just kind of, sometimes you just flip through the roster and you're like just remembering things. And I took a hard gaze at Stormtrooper Han and I'm like, man, this dude had a moment with Plan B, his leadership, and it was interesting and fun and just different. And no one expected Stormtrooper Han to be a leader, and there he was for a little bit with a little bit of a moment a long time ago. I thought that was pretty cool, and that was what inspired the question this week.
I'll never forget I definitely don't remember the whole team now, but for a while in Arena, it was like Rex lead, Wampa, like Talzin in there or something. It was an insane team. And it'd be great if the game could return to that. I don't think it'll ever happen, mainly because of how GL teams are mostly fixed.
Yep.
But how fun was that? I wish I remembered the whole team, but those times were a blast for sure.
They were a blast. All right, we've got a lot to discuss. Our units of the year. We've got the Bad Batch era starting up in January. The big predictions for 2024. I hope you brought a prediction, Freebot. And I hope everyone had a great holiday weekend. Happy New Year. Stick around and let's start the show.
Ignite your passion and embrace the glow of the Holotables.
This is it.
Broadcasting live just beyond the Dune Sea, we join the heartthrob of the Outer Rim, Urzatron.
Hello, what have we here?
Welcome to Love on the Holotables, an absolutely unremarkable yet ridiculous Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes podcast.
It's a trap!
It's time to lock those S-foils in a chill position and head on down to the big Holotable for all the latest action.
This is Red 5, I'm going in.
Well, hooty hoo, and a big hello from me to you. My name is Urs, and I'd like to welcome you all back to Love on the Holotables. And today we're joined by a very special guest. He's the innovator of the line. Let me try that again. He's the innovator of the line, the original son of this hall, producer extraordinaire, mod savant, and mathematical terrorist. That is certainly a list of superlatives. Freebot, welcome in. How are you?
I am doing well. See, you say that 4 times a week flawlessly at the end of every stream, and then clearly you're just blinded by the lights of your own podcast and you butcher it.
Yeah, when the pressure's on and I have to read something, that's always a roll
the whole
dice.
Reading thing. Yeah, that's a big challenge here.
For you guys that don't know, maybe you don't attend a live stream, maybe you just listen to Love on the Holotable over on YouTube, but I actually stream 4 nights a week, and this man has been the lead mod in the hall for 5 years now? More than that?
It's been almost exactly 4 years, I guess. You modded me at the
4
very
years.
end of 2020. I don't remember the exact day, but it was the very end of 2020. So basically exactly 4 years now.
So he's been a ride or die with this community, even before he got modded, actually, before he was just a part of the community. And now he's just there every week doing stuff and making sure the community stays healthy and happy. So thank you for all that, Freebot.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you, of course, creating a home for us.
Oh, that's so sweet. All right, let's jump into the news here. And the news, as I was joking with you off stream, is there is no news because
none.
CG's out on a holiday right now. So I think they'll probably get a skeleton crew. See what I did there? Back in the office, probably at the beginning of next week, I would imagine. And then people get back into the fold of things probably by the middle of January. That's usually how corporate environments work. I'm in corporate. You're in corporate as well. So, yeah. So no news is okay, though. We've got plenty to talk about. Now is a good time to sort of look back and reflect on the year that was on the Holotables. Now, I joined the Holotables back in August. Freebot has never left the tables. And, yeah, we've got a lot to talk about for terms of, like, 2024 Unit of the Year. Now, before we hammer that out, Freebot, what immediately jumps out in your mind when I say 2024 Unit of the Year? Because there's quite a few.
Yeah. So this isn't my answer for Unit of the Year, but the first thing that jumps out to me is Gungans, because I feel like that was such a significant thing to come to the game. I think most people would have said we're never going to get Gungans. And we got them, and they're like a legit faction. They're actually good. So when I think what came to the game in 2024, that's definitely what stands out to me the most, but it is not my favorite unit or even faction that we got this year.
Yes. And I actually wasn't around for Gungans. They were sort of right before I came back to the game. So I think they were in the first half of 2024. And I came
March
back in
or
August.
April.
Yeah, March or April. Yeah. And I came back in August, so they were right before I came to the game. The good thing with how the Gungans were, and I've talked about this many times on stream, is that CG replayed all those marquees. So I was able to go get all those shards. Very generous from CG. Never did stuff like that before, so that was a huge win for me. And they're not on my list to get farmed up just because I've got so many other pressing needs, but I have gotten wrecked by them a couple times in Conquest modes. And
yeah, they'll do that.
Yeah. So, but here's the list of units that came out in 2024, and we can certainly drill down on some of these guys in more specifically. So for ships, we had Comeuppance. I was at the beginning of the year, and the Punishing One. Those are the only two ships we saw this year. Stap, all the Gungans we just talked about. So Flanix, Boss, Bombardier, Jar Jar, and Tarpals. We've got Queen Amidala. We've got Master Quai, Padawan Obi-Wan, Luthen, Ezra, Balin, Night Trooper, Peridia, Elsbeth, Shin, Padawan Sabine, Great Mothers, Merrick, Huyang, Enoch. Did I say Enoch? And then we've got Hera, Glat. I think I got them all. Yeah.
I certainly don't have a list in front of me, but that sounds like the list. I actually didn't even realize Comeuppance was 2024. It feels so long ago. Like I literally thought we only got Punishing One as a ship this year. But still, only 2 ships in a year is pretty pathetic.
Pretty pathetic, and you got to wonder, like, what can they even do around like another fleet to come to the game? Like, I don't even know what they would do at this point. I mean, maybe it's a Mandalorian
Later in the
fleet?
show, I have some thoughts on fleet,
Okay.
so we'll get to that.
Let's not spoil it, okay? My immediate thought I had 2 thoughts for unit of the year here, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong here. So my head, so for criteria, just for those out in the audience, criteria is overall plug and play appeal, accessibility, so how easy they are to get, and game-changing ability to transform a team or a faction. So that was sort of my criteria. And then I guess we can just throw in there how much you actually like the character, because that does matter just a little bit, I think.
Sure.
So immediate thoughts are, there's three characters that I'm looking at here. I think most people know that we're big Andor marks, so we really like Luthen. I think Luthen's a cool character. I'm glad to see he was a Conquest-style character that came to the game. I don't know if he's my unit of the year, but he's certainly cool. Do you have your Luthen functional and ready to go, and how do you use him?
Yeah, he's R5. He rotates between Saw and Mothma. I think it's still kind of an unknown how much of an impact he's going to have. The problem is Mothma is not used, at least endgame, unless she has a relevant cron. And Saw is truly not that great of a character, but he's always got a datacron that makes his team useful. So Luthen has had a place since he entered the game in one of those 2 teams, but I think we still don't know, even after all these months. 6 months from now, is he going to have a place in the meta for endgame? To be seen. But I do love Luthen, the character in the show, and I think they did a good job with him in the game.
Yeah. And the next one that came to my mind was Ezra Bridger Exile. Obviously, he sort of benefits from, one, having a unique ability with Exile. So that's sort of, I guess Hera has it now, and I guess Ahsoka has ties to it as well. But one of the first guy in the game with Exile, His tags are sort of pretty wide open, so he can fit in multiple different teams. And they've often regarded him as the sort of number one plug and play character that's been seen in some time. So, thoughts on Ezra Exile?
Yeah, Ezra is one of the ones that stands out to me. As we mentioned, plug and play. He's great with Rey. With JKL lead, he can beat Leia. He's great under JML. So he's as plug and play as we got as far as a character this year, I think. Maybe the only other option would be Enoch. Enoch hasn't been used in this way, but I think Enoch can be. And that's just because of the one line in Enoch's unique where all the enemy units lose 450% critical chance.
Oh, wow.
That's insane. Like,
yeah.
You think you'd be able to plug that into a team somewhere and it'd have use, and maybe it will once we lose like the Remnant and the Trooper Crons that we've had and are getting. But I mean, I've had thoughts like, can't you plug Enoch in with Traya or something in places like Talon or Scion just to take away? Because if you're using Traya, the whole idea is to get your team to survive until Nihilus can annihilate.
Right.
If you're taking away the ability for your enemy team to crit, it just gives that team more survivability. So I'm surprised we haven't seen Enoch used as more of a plug and play, but maybe it's because the true only plug and play ability there is taking away that credibility from the enemy.
Yeah, I don't have Enoch, so I didn't even know that was a massive part of his kit. That seems super interesting to theory craft around if you could do some sort of like it's like they call it stacks in Magic, but they do some sort of like slow play mass defensive strategy where you're just gonna take up to Nihilus, as you said, and just sort of pop him off that way. That'd be super interesting. That he's a good, interesting defensive player there.
Yeah, it's a turtle strategy, right?
Turtle up,
and
yeah.
I just got my Enoch to 7 stars maybe a week ago, less than a week ago. So that's part of it, is a lot of the player base doesn't have Enoch at 7 stars yet.
Yeah. Okay, the last one I have here that I want to call out is the Great Mothers. I obviously have the most experience with them because I did get Balin, as you know, and I have spent a lot of time with them. A lot of the feats in Conquest revolve around Great Mothers and Elsbeth.
Yep.
So I've become pretty much very familiar with these gals overnight, and also getting the Night Sister Lightspeed bundle as well. So I'm basically one Night Sister away from having that whole faction pretty much wrapped up, and that's just Marin, which I'm farming right now. But yeah, the moms are pretty awesome, man. Deleting protection, reducing max health on each turn with Doom, and then alternatively Blessing, like Elspeth, being immune to stun, insta defeat, turn meter reduction, a big AoE, and then, it obviously created 2 distinct teams when Elsbeth and Great Mothers came to the game. So I'm going to say that's my unit of the year because I didn't really have a whole lot, and that I have a ton of experience with them now in Conquest. So overall, I just love what they do. And maybe if I had Ezra, I'd feel a little bit differently. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on Great Mothers?
So I think Great Mothers, I usually call them Tri-Mamas, but I think they probably are the most fun character that came out this year. CG did a great job with their kit. There's so many fun things you can do. You mentioned Conquest. If you use Booming Voice, if you equip the Booming Voice disc and use Tri-Mamas, literally the enemy team just gets one shot because everybody assists every time Tri-Mamas takes a turn. Obviously, her ability removes protection. Everybody assists, wipes out the health. You just move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and wipe them out in 5 turns. There's so many fun things you can do with her. She has a great kit. CG did a great job. She was in contention for my favorite character of the year, but this won't surprise you when I tell you it's actually Shin.
I'm not surprised, but go ahead.
Yeah. I love her. Obviously, in the Ahsoka show, she was fantastic, but they did a good job with her in the game. Her AoE just pummels. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like the Balin team can lack damage, and then 90 seconds into the match, Shin gets a turn. She has a bunch of stacks of soldiers, fortune, whatever it is, and she's just going to wipe out nearly the entire team with her AoE. She is a lot of fun. I really like her. And part of my excitement about her and Balin isn't just those 2 individual characters, but the Merc faction being introduced to the game.
Yep.
That's one of the things that stands out to me in 2024, because the theory crafting and the ability to build unique and different team compositions with the Merc tag. That's really exciting to me. I just hope we continue to get more Merc leaders. I feel like that's kind of what's holding it back right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully some new characters, and actually if I remember right, because this will lead into the Bad Batch segment, but I think CG said one of the Bad Batch marquees coming to the game is going to be a Merc leader. We'll see.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about that next in Bad Batch. I have some speculation, some thoughts on that as well. But I have done that, what you described with Shin, that sort of her AoE with the stacks of Soldier of Fortune. And it's just like a mic drop moment. You think you're out of it, and that thing pops off, and it's like, oh, 3 guys are dead now.
Yeah. If you're behind in the match, she will save your butt. Yeah.
Yeah, she's really great. She's really great. And, she's... That team does lack at times, but you gotta even like the stun that she has. That control element with stun and big damage coming through. And yeah, she's fantastic. She's really good. Okay, so those are our characters of the year. I'm gonna go Great Mothers. Freebot going Shin, and we had listed Darkside Ray here. I don't know why people say maybe because she was added to the game in 2024, but really no one's gonna have her until next year. So
we don't have her. Yeah. So she will be an early favorite for favorite character of 2025. That's for sure, because she's going to be incredible. I'm very happy they brought her to the game. It's a fantastic decision in my mind.
I have a whole side thought on her and that whole deal. We're going to talk about that here.
I assume the gears have been turning for an intro and everything.
Yes. We got a whole conversation to have here. So, that is our units of the year. Let's go Bad Batch Bad Batch episode era. Both beginning in the episode and the era, both beginning at the beginning of the year here. I wonder if we're going to see it. I wonder if they have a marquee like already in the can, ready to go here. Because for them to stick to their schedule, it would start on January 1st, right? So they would have to go right into a marquee immediately here, unless they're going to use their holiday week for the start of the year. But Bad Batch, Freebot, did you watch Bad Batch at all?
Confession time. We're going to church real quick here. I have not watched a single second of Bad Batch since the first season. So I might not be great for this segment, but it's mostly just a time thing. I enjoyed season 1. Yeah. It's not like I'm not watching because I thought it was a bad show. I did hear bad things about at least the beginning of season 2, and I think that's what partially kept me away. But then I heard better things at the end of season 2, and then I heard season 3 is good. So I fully plan on watching it at some point, but as far as knowledge of what the heck happened in season 2 and season 3, I have no idea. I know there's the Zillow Beast, like I've heard people talk about that because that might be a raid we're getting, but I have very limited knowledge on what's happened in season 2 and season 3.
Yeah, no, and I think I'm in the same way. And I think a lot of people out there are the same way. Some people just, I don't know, like when I watch Bad Batch, I've watched all of season 1 and I've watched half of season 2 and I've watched the importance episodes of season 2. I don't get the same feel that I get when I watch Clone Wars. I don't know why that is. I feel like Clone Wars is just so much more edgy and like it's not afraid. It's like I saw a great video on YouTube where it's like Clone Wars is a kid's show, and then there's all these like people getting shot and murdered and like
it's way beyond a kid's show.
It's got the paint job of a kid's show, but it's actually pretty dark in a lot of places and just some of the stuff it does. I just for whatever reason never got the same feeling from Bad Batch, and I felt like there was a stark, just drastic change of tone to be more kid friendly with that show.
I think part of the issue with Bad Batch is the structure of the main characters. It's just way too generic. And you and I have talked about this. We've talked about it on a stream. You've got the classic leader. You've got the strong guy, but not the smartest. You've got the geeky guy in tech. Like, it's just such a typical...
Yep. Everybody has their role. You can be any of these people. Everybody has a role.
And I don't dislike any of the Bad Batch characters. It's just none of them stood out to me and blew me away in a way where I was like, I want to keep watching this. I need to make this appointment television.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's the question I wanted to ask is, do you think they're going to be able to stick to their cycle of 5 marquees per quarter? Is that something that they can deliver on? And not only deliver on it, but because I'm sure they could vomit out kits and vomit out, characters that probably already have art in the can. But do you think they can effectively balance all that, Freebot? I mean, it's very
No.
ambitious what they've done.
I think, isn't it even 6 that they suggested, not 5? Because wasn't it
I
an
thought
era
it was,
is
okay, so a month is an episode, correct? And there's 3 episodes per era. So
yes, 3 episodes in an era.
3
And I thought
episodes.
they I thought they said 2 marquees per episode, but I could be misremembering for sure.
I thought it was 2 marquees per episode was what the goal was, but that they were going to have one episode have only 1 marquee, and then they would treat the other week or the other 2 weeks as like a holiday. So this last one was like Ahsoka coming out was the holiday. That's why we didn't get any new marquees.
So maybe what it is they've set 6 as the maximum, like they're giving themselves that ceiling. But
yeah.
I mean, there's no way they're going to consistently give us that much, and I hope they don't because of spaghetti code, balance issues, all that. And I don't know. So to me, part of the beauty of this game is it's been around so long. There's so many different characters. There's so much balancing that has to be done. But almost like there's not a huge imbalance of power. Like a lot of the old characters need touch-ups, but we kind of get that now with Omicrons and Datacrons. Yep. But if you're going to introduce that volume of characters, I don't know how you can keep up with the quality. Like for me, quality is so much more important than quantity. Don't give me even 5 per era. I'd much rather just see less as long as they're well thought out kits. Like we were just talking about Try Mama's, how much fun she is, because that's an incredible kit. And obviously not every marquee is going to be like that. That would be insane. But the game is so much more fun when you have characters like that to play with. And if that gets watered down just because they're trying to force feed 4, 5, 6 marquees per era, whatever it is, that would definitely cause some concern for me.
I mean, I feel like what they probably are going to do behind the scenes, if I had to guess, is they're going to be like, oh, well, these are the 5 characters that we're going to need to make a team, or here are the 5 or 6 characters that we need to make a team. And let's just design it from the team aspect first, have it beat like the main meta team, and then work it all backwards into kits from there. So like, I think if they approach it that way, maybe it's going to be obtainable for them to have like kits that, work together. But you need the whole thing to make it work. And what we started off talking about, I don't know. Maybe that's going to backfire if they take that approach, and maybe you're going to have like shit just getting totally out of balance or stuff getting messed up because of they weren't able to effectively test all these different variants. I don't know. Be interesting to see how they deliver on this. So
what you described there very much is what they did with the original release of Bad Batch. Those characters were designed to go together, and they did fit together very well. But my issue with that is that's a team. You don't really get to use them elsewhere. You do see Bad Batch Echo with Queen Amidala sometimes now. But like, there's almost no plug and play ability with those characters. So if they're planning on releasing roughly 5 marquees per era, and the intention is just to make those 5 work together, I don't like that much, because you don't have the ability to go and take one of those characters and put it in a different team when that team itself becomes outdated, because at least endgame, the board is so small, you don't get to use that many teams compared to how many teams there are in the game.
Right.
It doesn't take much to push teams off the board. Like Gas isn't even being used now. Like he is sometimes, but like pure true Gas 501st endgame, like you don't even see it. If somebody places it on defense, you're just wiping it with like CLS for almost guaranteed 65. And on offense, it bleeds banner. So think about how strong the Gas team was and still kind of is, but can't find a place on the board anymore.
Right.
So if they're just going to make structured 5 character teams and then move on to another 5 character teams, I don't love that. I'd much prefer if for some eras they give us, look, these characters don't go together. They're not necessarily going to make a team, but you can use this character here, this character with this other team. I would vastly prefer that. Obviously, they're not going to do that much, if at all, but I think that would be better than just making these cookie cutter home teams.
Yeah, but the concern is like the volume, right? The volume is just very concerning here. But like the amount of references the kits actually called on upon each other, even where they put Zeb in there with like Hera's kit, and Zeb being called out multiple times, and just if Padawan Sabine is present, if Ezra Exile's present, if it feels like that is the direction they are going, and I'm with you, man. I don't think that's a encouraging direction for theory crafting.
Yeah, I give them credit because they did say that not every era is going to maximize. So they've given themselves the autonomy there to, use however much flexibility they need. And hopefully they have all these things in mind. I mean, look at the game they've designed over all these years. I think they're aware of the issues that just force feeding a ton of marquees could do. So hopefully they're going to be smart about it.
I mean, I don't play MSF, but I know MSF had this problem way before like SWGOH did, where they were just cranking out new units every week, and that I feels like we're kind of becoming MSF adjacent, where the volume's going to be ridiculous, and to your point, like these teams are going to get forced off the board so fast if they're not beating the very top end things, and like. What do you do at that point? Do you redesign the TW map to allow for more teams? And then Calvin made that point. It's like, oh, well, if you do that, then no one has more time. So something has to give there. So, yeah, it's super interesting to think about.
Yeah, there's definitely some concerns there. Ultimately, I do trust them to not completely butcher their game. To the MSF point, I never played MSF, but I did hear those concerns from people who played the game that you mentioned. I remember people saying there were all these new characters and they were all bugged, and rather than them fixing the bugs, they were just releasing more characters.
Yep.
And one thing to look at is when CG changed the marquee structure where you could whale on a new marquee for much cheaper, like half the cost of what it used to be.
Yep.
I think back in the day it was pretty much $300, right? And now you can kind of do it 150-ish. I kind of wonder if that's just what they see as dollar signs, is so many more people are spending money because even though it's half the cost, more people are buying in. So let's just push the marquee agenda.
Yep. Well, it'll be interesting to see if this backfires on them, because I think we're of the same mind on that whole aspect of it. So,
yeah.
So Bad Batch beginning in January, Q1 2025. They've mentioned, obviously, we're probably going to get a Crosshair. Crosshair has been requested for some time now. I guess Mercenary Asajj is in season 3 of Bad Batch.
And so is that the Merc we're getting then?
That could be the Merc leader that we're getting, or she's going to be a fourth for the Balin team. But that's Asajj with hair, so that'll be interesting. And then the only other speculative pick I guess I could make here is a new Omega, since the OG Omega seems pretty skippable and not very widely used. Maybe they would give us a new Omega as well. I don't know.
I would like that. And part of my hesitation here, since I haven't watched season 2 or 3, I don't know what new characters they may have introduced that they're going to bring into the game. But I would love if one or two of these marquees, rather than being for a new team, you could plug into the old Bad Batch team to swap somebody out. I don't know exactly how that would work, because as I mentioned, the Bad Batch team that we have was designed to fit so well together, at least the 4 clones, not counting Omega. But yeah, if they're bringing somebody new in, like you say, to replace Omega's spot, I'd be all about that. Something that would make Bad Batch relevant again. Bring that on. Give it to me. That'd be great.
Okay. So look for that coming to the tables very soon, guys. Hopefully next week we start hearing at least a pre-canned post on what to expect out of CG. And then as we go into the episode, I'm sure more to come. All right, Freebot, big predictions for SWGOH in 2025. Now, I sat on this all day and I thought about it, and I've actually got something that might blow your mind a little bit. But do you want? Let's have you go first. You do yours first.
I wonder if we're gonna. It might work really well, because I'm wondering if we might kind of be on the same page, and we'll see if mine leads into yours. I have 2 things mainly, and they're kind of related. The first is I think we're going to get crystals taken out of Fleet.
Okay.
Because that's where the game has been heading. You figure they took crystals out of Arena. I don't know how long. It's been a while now that they took crystals out of Arena. And they made a comment, or maybe even multiple comments at some points, where they're saying they want to get away from the aspects of the game where it's like scheduled gaming, right? Like you have to be on at this time to do this, this, and that. They took crystals out of Arena because of that.
Yep.
And same thing with the changing of the raid structure. You can hit it any time in that time span where it's live, so it works for your schedule. And that was a brilliant move by CG. And I think they realized that. So I think it's just a matter of time until they take the crystals away from Fleet. But here's the thing, they have to go somewhere. They can't just take that economy away from us.
Right. So where do you think they're going?
Two options. Hopefully TW, because TW needs a rework, and I don't think they move crystals there unless they rework it.
Okay.
So I'm not a big fan of TW. Like I play it, I always join it, I participate, but like it does nothing for me. But if they totally restructure it, then I could see myself buying in more. And obviously, if they put the crystals in, then it's going to carry a lot more weight, a lot more significance.
Yeah.
What I would like to see is complete revamp of the board. Rather than having like a left side and a right side, make it like a risk board where you've got different continents and different territories, if you will, are worth certain whatever points or credits something you can get.
Okay.
And make each guild decide which territories you're going to defend and which ones you're going to attack. Something that'll give it more strategy than what it is right now. Because to me, it's just so bland. It's been the same thing forever. I try to think of the way where you can revamp it without incurring a bunch more time. And I'm sure in a way, if you turn the TW board into like a risk board, it is going to take more time, at least starting off, because there'd be so much more strategy. But I think that's time that a lot of people wouldn't mind investing. I say that as I'm not a TW officer.
Right.
They'd probably be pretty miserable. But if you enjoy this game, I think most people, certainly not everybody, but most people enjoy it because it has some strategy elements in it.
Yeah.
Think about the amount of strategy that could come into play if it's like physically impossible, even if you're far superior to the guild you're facing, if it's physically impossible to claim every single territory on the board at once, and you have to decide, hey, look, these territories are more, let's push for these, or whatever it may be. This territory is a highly strategic point. Let's try and get that one. To me, that could revamp it. It would give it new life, and it would make sense to put crystals in it at that point as they try to encourage people to play it more.
And, they could even do things like, make it more of a board game, or they you mentioned risk, and maybe you, for territories, they do like a global bonus for, based on sort of like what type of territory it is. Or maybe it's a galactic map, sort of like Rise of the Empire. And you get different planet bonuses based on sort of like what's going on the planet. So if you have a team that's like, heavily focused in one faction, or I'm sorry, a guild that's heavily focused on like farming one thing, that maybe they could, outperform, maybe like Tuscans outperform on like Tatooine with a, or Jawas do something different on Tatooine or something like that. There's so much they could do with that.
Especially because they already have seeds for it in the game. It's not like they'd be creating that from scratch. Think about all the things we have in Conquest and we have in some galactic challenges, like all those, I'm blanking on the name, but the heck are they called? The things that affect the gameplay, like outside of what it normally would be in a match. Yeah. Like a lot of that, it's obviously already in the game,
like
so they could just implement
and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and the Night Sister one where they revive every 10 turns, whatever. Like
Iker
all that stuff
whatever.
is. Yeah, all that stuff's in the game. So like you're saying, you could just assign one of those to each territory, and that would just really expand on the strategy. If they don't put the crystals in TW, I think it has to be a new game mode, because I don't know where else you would put it. But the fear there is obviously the additional time that you'd be incurring. I don't think
would you be against them rolling those crystals into GAC, since most people are already doing their GAC?
Oh, I'd be all in, because GAC is all I care about. Like, the only reason I play this game is GAC.
Right.
So if they put it all in GAC, like that's all the better for me, because I take it seriously. I do pretty well, so that would help me. But I would be shocked if they do that. I don't see them doing that.
Well, I mean, it achieves the same thing. It allows you to GAC to play it on your schedule, which is sort of nice about it. And then it allows you to, you're still having to invest in fleets. It's not like you're not taking fleets seriously. If you want to win at GAC, you have to have fleets. I'm a living example of that. Right
yeah,
now.
You're in the thick of it now.
Yeah.
I think there'd be too much backlash because there's too many people that don't play and or like GAC.
But you could do your GAC so fast, and it's actually the best game mode they have. I don't know.
For me, 100%, I agree. Like I said, I'd be all about it. But think about how many large accounts are low. Like how many large accounts have you seen at your level, right?
Right.
And that's just
There's
because some
tons of
people
them.
don't play, they don't like it, they don't care about that aspect of the game. So I think there'd be backlash if they did that. And while I would like that for like selfish purposes, I kind of hope they don't, because I think there's a lot of people that just would not like that. And I could see you always get people quit with every major change and update. But I could see quite a few people just not being happy with that and quitting because of it. I mean, if they feel like they're losing more crystals because they still won't participate in GAC, I mean, their economy is going to suffer. They're not going to be getting as many crystals. They're not going to be happy about that.
Okay. Well, there you go. Any other big predictions before we switch over to my side?
I don't think so. There's like quality of life stuff that I think will come, but it's nothing significant like Datacron changes. Just something as simple as, and everybody talks about this, just being able to scroll over from one to the next.
Yeah.
I know you're just really starting to get into Datacrons, so you haven't seen that whole lot, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like the user interface for Datacrons is absolutely atrocious. Like we're living in 1992 or something. How can we not even scroll from one to the next? But there's so many changes they could make. Think about how the old mod system was before they revamped it.
Yeah.
And when they revamped it, it was huge. And I wonder if that's why we haven't gotten just a simple UI update to Datacrons, is because they don't want to just make one small update. Maybe they want to totally revamp it and make it much easier for people to engage with. Because I know they want people to engage with Datacrons. It's very important to them. It's a moneymaker. That's the biggest thing. But that's why they lowered the necessary relic levels from 357 to 135.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're even aware of that,
because
you weren't. Yeah. So, I mean, the reason they made that change was because they want people to be, more willing to use them. And that's why they've made all those changes. They increased the cap for the data cache and all that stuff. So I know they want people to engage. So maybe they're just working slowly behind the scenes on a bunch of UI changes, and eventually we'll see those. Hopefully in 2025, we'll see.
Seems like they're doing quality of life stuff. Is that like once a year they do an update that sprinkles?
Yeah, it's few and far between. I feel like every now and then we get something small, but I'm not even sure the last big quality of life change we got. I mean, we got those things recently where you don't lose Galactic Challenge or Galactic Legend tickets if you lose a battle, which is fantastic. But that's such a small thing in the broad spectrum of the game.
Right.
Like, think about how few people are currently going for a GL. And then when you do finish that GL, it's usually months and months before you get to the next one.
Yeah.
And that's like the big thing we got. I'm not trying to put them down for it because that was a great change. But yeah, the quality of life improvements seem to be very sparse these days.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for my big prediction?
Yes, hit me with it.
This is something I noodle on hard, and I think we're not far off here. Okay. I think we're heading into the weird Freebot.
Don't tell me vehicles.
Okay, well, it's not vehicles. It's not. I still think vehicles is a thing that could totally happen because there's just too much there's just too much easy green space they could develop into. But that's not where my head is going here. So it all starts with Rey Darkside Vision. I think Rey Darkside Vision, all right, she is an indication that anything can come to this game. Anything. She was on screen for all of like 5 minutes, 4 minutes.
Not even
3 minutes, 2 minutes.
It was very brief.
Yeah. Okay. So I think she's your seed. She's your indicator that anything can go. And you've seen this change with Star Wars as a whole. Because I'm going to give you some examples here of weird things that are happening in Star Wars with the IP. And it starts with 5 days ago, Fortnite, the game, announced a samurai version of Darth Vader and a samurai stormtrooper. Now, that is Fortnite, and Fortnite makes a ton of money. All right?
Right.
Fortnite is a big name. So it's clearly not, and they've made characters. They made Swordy. They made, what's his name? Drogon. They've made their own characters. They can make their own characters. They can do weird stuff like this. So 5 days ago, we got Rey Darkside Vision. That was a while ago. But Samurai Darth Vader in Fortnite Fortnite, Samurai Stormtrooper in Fortnite, Darth Jar Jar in the Dark Falcon Lego set, Red Eyes C-3PO in that set as well, Beach Bum Luke. I think there is a possibility. Now, whether or not this is good or healthy for the IP, that's a whole different conversation, Freebot. But I think there is an opportunity we get a weird era or episodes of Outliers. Stuff like this, Ray Darkside Vision, Samurai Darth Jar Jar, Red Eyes 3PO. I think there's a chance this stuff comes to Galaxy of Heroes. And why would this come, Freebot? Because I ask you the question, who's going to sell more units? Samurai Darth Vader or Master Soul from the Acolyte? What do you think would sell more?
Yeah, there's no competition there. I hadn't heard this news. I didn't know about this Fortnite thing, but Samurai Darth Vader sounds amazing. Partially because I love Samurai. I own katanas. Like there's 4 katanas in the bedroom next to me. So I'm all about that. I'm going to have to look this up as soon as we get off the call here. But you're totally right. Like that's a moneymaker. To me, I think it's brilliant because I'm all for creativity. Like I was so happy that they created Sortie. Like I think that's fantastic. Imagine being the person that got to design Sortie. Like you love Star Wars. Imagine if you worked for some company like this and you got to design, literally create a Star Wars character. And I realize what we're talking about here isn't really creating because they're not creating Ray Bay.
They're variants, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if it opens the door to all that stuff, and you mentioned Darth Jar Jar, if Calvin's listening, he's just like
throbbing.
Midnight to 6 right now. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I love that idea, especially because, as we were talking about earlier, those would probably be plug and play characters.
Yeah. And, they could even do like an outlier tag. And maybe this stuff all just works together under like, we got Spectres now and we got an Outliers. And Outliers could be their own like fun little thing. I don't know, man. I just think that if Fortnite can do it and Lego can do it with Darth Jar Jar and a Dark Millennium Falcon, then there's no question that SWGOH could do it too.
As I'm thinking it through, I could totally see it. I hope you're right. Maybe you can send a message to Meathead.
This is your easy layup right here. Like, yeah.
Yeah. It makes so much sense the more I think about it. Like,
there's no pressure to be like, you could just make stuff up for abilities. Like you could do weird stuff. Like there's no pressure.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Also, so whatever power level they wanted to set it at, like clearly with Ray Bay, like she's going to be insane. They won't want to do that with every character, but if they just want to make it, a more for fun character, they can do that because they can set the power level to whatever they want. They can make the abilities whatever they want. That's incredible freedom. I would love if they go down that path.
Yeah. So that's my big prediction. I think if you're seeing it in the other stuff, the big IPs, you could see it in SWGOH. So that's sort of my big prediction. And I guarantee you, I know so many people in the community Freebot that would be all in for like Samurai Vader. But if Master Soul came, I don't know if they're clamoring for that, We're not getting Master Soul. I don't think we're ever getting any of those atrocious characters from that show. I think we're going to get these Outliers before we see any of that stuff. It's just so
I would
easy.
agree.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's super likely that we do get those, but I can totally see it. Especially because is that more of I guess that's a Disney NDA decision, right? Like if they go down that path, like they would both have
the conversation's been done already. If Fortnite's doing it and Lego's doing it, there's no conversation to be had. There's no fear of rejection.
Specifically for SWGOH, I mean.
Yeah.
But here's what I was going to say is if that gets brought up or if it's already been brought up, why would they say no? Because of the amount of money that this game brings in. Like obviously EA and Disney knows the money that's coming in from SWGOH. So if the idea is pitched, hey, let us bring in Samurai Vader, and they probably have the numbers where they could give him a good ballpark of what kind of money it's going to bring in. Yeah. Why would anybody say no?
Exactly. And I think if we bring it all back full circle, Freebot, and we look at like the release schedule, 5 to 6 marquees every time, every 3 months, dude, they're going to run out of stuff like to crank out here. Like
they'll have to get creative if they're doing those kind of numbers.
Which is why I don't think this is like crazy. I don't think this is crazy at all.
I don't think it's crazy either.
All right. We got a couple more things to get to here. Let's jump into the Conquest recap. How's your Conquest going, brother?
Conquest is going well.
What
I
zone are
always
you in?
treat. I'm all the way through, but like I haven't finished feats or anything. But I always treat different conquests differently depending on how it aligns with Datacrons.
Mm-hmm.
So last conquest was the second conquest for that Datacron set, which is far less important than the first
Yeah.
conquest for each Datacron set. So basically, when we have this iteration of conquest, I speed to Sector 4 so I can farm the Sector 1 treasure node and the Sector 4 treasure nodes. 1 so I can get Datacrons, and 4 so I can get the Mark II mats to level them up. The first iteration of this conquest was insanely easy. I maxed it out red box with 10 days remaining. Like, it was insanely easy. And here we are. I don't know how deep we are into this one, but I'm probably like 400 something burritos. So I have a long way to go with feats, but that's just because I stopped farming feats and I'm just simming Sector 1 and Sector 4 treasure nodes for Datacrons.
Wow.
So Conquest is going well. Like, I have no concern about finishing, but that's easy when you have an endgame account. It's not a concern.
Yeah, it certainly takes me a little bit longer. I'm like a little over halfway through right now, and I'm sort of like being a little more deliberate with the teams I pick, and sort of like chasing feats as I go. And you know, I've certainly learned more since the last time we did this because all the feats are the same. So I'm able to I'm doing the accuracy one right now with like that team we did on stream where
Cad Bane.
Yeah. So like there's stuff like that I've learned, and I'm just I feel like I'm being just way more efficient with it this time around. So I don't really have any concerns that I'm not going to miss I'm going to miss it or anything. But the one question I did have for you here is, if I got max crate last time, and I think it was like 110 shards, I just want to make sure I get 110 of Rave DSV this time around as well, right? That is buying from Java as well as, or is it just you can get it without having to buy from Jawas because I got the Conquest pass?
So that's where I'm not sure because I've never bought the Conquest Pass. I'm not sure how many shards you get. The answer is yes, you need 110 per. If in one Conquest you get more than 110, then obviously you don't necessarily need 110 in each. But as an average, you do need 110 in each.
Okay.
You got red box and you did the Conquest Pass the first time, right? So you're sitting on more than 110 after the first iteration, even before this Conquest started, right?
I think I'm at 110 exactly.
Okay, so you didn't buy them all from the Jawa merchants.
I bought like Luthen and Ezra and stuff from the Jawas because I had the 110.
You need to, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know what the math is for you. We can certainly look at it on stream if we need to. But yes, the idea is you need 110 per. As long as you get 110 per on average, that'll get you your 330 for your unlock.
Okay, good stuff. Nothing else to really talk about with Conquest. It's fine. It's just something that I do in the morning and do at night, and that's basically it.
You're already seeing the difference between the first Conquest and the second Conquest with the same feats. Wait till you get to the third one. You're going to be like, oh, this is a breeze. And that's just the natural flow of how these Conquests go now, since every 3 have the same feats. By the time you get to the third one, you're like, oh, I do this in my sleep because I know what to do with all these. So You're seeing that between 1 and 2. You'll see it even more between the second and the third one.
Yeah, I just feel like the pressure's like a lot lower now. It's like, oh, I know I can do this, so let's just go.
You can do it, so yeah, there's no reason you can't do it again.
Yeah. All right, we're shifting gears here to the community mailbag, and this question comes in from Flash, and he asks, Dear Free, how do you balance being competitive with also wanting to maintain going at a pace that keeps the game fun?
First of all, shout out to Flash. Kid Flash Gordon 383 there. Love that guy.
Yep.
So for me, the competitive aspect is what's fun. I mentioned earlier, like, the only reason I play this game is for GAC. Really don't care about anything else. I can't stand TB. TW is very meh for me. It's just a GAC game for me. So to me, really the only way I get enjoyment is being competitive in GAC. I play this game for the strategy, for the theory crafting, for the efficiency of GAC. So for me, I don't think I necessarily think of it as trying to balance being competitive and having fun. The fun comes from being competitive. Now, obviously, there is a balance that I have to find with time. because in order to be competitive at a high level, if we're talking like the very top end of Kyber 1, it's a time investment. I'm not like Tasnex or somebody that has to spend hours prepping and studying for each GAC. But it's definitely a time investment to be able to compete, especially with a roster that like doesn't wail on characters and stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, the balance more so, rather than trying to find a balance between competitiveness and fun, for me, the balance is time and competitiveness. How can I be competitive with the least time investment possible? Because there's times where I'm working 70 hours a week. I just don't have the time to do a lot of the things that are necessary to compete at a high level.
Yeah,
like
I mean, you could just tell with your approach to Datacrons in Conquest. It's like, oh, I think most people wouldn't be like hard stopping to farm Datacron stuff. I think most people would just be like focused on the shard aspect of, raid dark side vision. But that's clearly the difference.
So to try to actually give an answer here, I think is what I would say, and this might sound a little backwards, but hear me out. So I have multiple spreadsheets for SWGOH.
Okay.
I have GAC spreadsheets. I have Datacron spreadsheet. And basically, simplest way to explain this is we talked about how bad the user interface is for Datacrons, right? Like you can look at your in-game Datacrons and not know what the fuck you have. You have no clue.
Yep.
I have a spreadsheet that literally lists every single Datacron I have, and it's very organized. It's color coded. I can probably bring it up on my phone real quick and like show it to the camera here.
Oh my god.
So here's where I'm getting at is obviously it's a time investment to keep up with these spreadsheets, but for me it's actually a time saver because that's how I can be competitive. I know what every single team's Datacron is. Now obviously there's some variance there because depending on the situation, a team might need this Datacron or they might need a different Datacron. But the spreadsheet, I'm pulling it up here so I don't know how well it'll come across on the camera here.
Oh my gosh, guys, you ready for this? Oh my god, look at that data.
You're probably not going to be able to read it very well. But like you can see there's color coding. Basically, it lists the stats for the Datacrons are over here and over here are like the level 3, the level 6, the level 9. And in the middle is where I have listed the team that it's for, both for 3s and both for 5s.
Oh my gosh.
So, and that's just one spreadsheet I have that I use for Datacrons. I have others I use for GAC and stuff. So while it's a time investment to keep up with those and get all the information put in, I've been doing it so long that it doesn't take too long to keep up with. But that's actually how I balance time and competitiveness. I don't have to sit there and try and figure out, okay, which Datacron am I setting with this team on defense? I either know it in my head, because for me, once I like type something out, it's a lot easier to remember.
Yeah.
Or I can just go look at my spreadsheet and it's right there. Oh, it's this Datacron. So that's the best way I can kind of give an answer there. Is it's not trying to find a balance between fun and competition. It's the balance between time and competition.
There you go. There you go. Wow, what an answer here. And man, you guys got a glimpse into this man's mind.
It's a scary place, I'll tell you that.
He was like, oh, man, he was happy to show a spreadsheet on his phone.
I had to make sure nothing else was going to pop up on the phone. No shin pictures or anything like that, right?
Jeez. As a reminder to listeners, if you'd like to submit a community mail, swing on by the Hall Discord and drop a question in the channel titled Community Mailbag. I'll be selecting my favorite question from that each week, so please do participate. All right, Freebot. For a week of no news, we made it 53 minutes, and it is time for the final segment here. It is time for maximum firepower. We're gonna put our guest in the hot seat here and test his mental limits. First, I'll give him 5 SWGOH or Star Wars topics, and Free will respond with a short answer that best describes it. Doesn't have to be one word anymore, just short answer. We're looking for rapid fire here on this one, Freebot. So the first thing that comes to mind. Next, we will force Free to get controversial and finish a sentence that I've started. Lastly, Free will have 1 minute to guess a randomly selected character by asking me a series of yes or no questions, and you can't have the game up, so hands in the air, sir. Freebot, are you ready?
Born ready. Let's do it.
Target, maximum firepower.
Short response, number 1, the Acolyte.
Trash.
Number 2, Skeleton Crew.
Haven't watched yet.
Oh my God. Number 3, my favorite Hall Let's Play.
Green Hell.
Number 4, my favorite Star Wars honey.
Hera.
Number 5, Urz's most recent return to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes.
Triumphant.
All right. All right, here we go. Short response, The Acolyte. You said trash. I thought it was okay-ish. It was nothing great. It didn't stick the landing. It was not, I don't know. It's fine. It's just not great. That's it.
For me, it's just the writing. Like, it's true of any show, any movie, whether it's Star Wars or anything else. You could have the best actor as a great director, but if the writing is bad, a good actor can't make up for it. To me, the writing in that show was so bad, it just didn't hit for me.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Skeleton Crew, you said you haven't watched yet. Is there just time right now?
Time. Life's been crazy. It's finally freeing up now since I have some time off for the holidays. But even outside like SWGOH and internet, just a lot of stuff going on IRL. So I just haven't had the time. I'm 100% going to watch it. I will be watching it before I ever touch Bad Batch, especially because I've been here and it's good.
It is good.
But yeah, it's just a time thing. It's not like I'm avoiding it. It's just haven't found the time.
All right. Well, that's your assignment, Freebot. You got to go watch Skeleton Crew because it's fantastic.
Homework assignment.
Yeah. Number 3, favorite Let's Play for the Hall. If you guys don't know what the Hall is, that's my Twitch channel and my community on Discord. We've done Let's Plays. Free's been a part of a lot of them. He said Green Hell, which is a survival game. Fantastic survival game. Just riveting content. We were barely living through that. That was great.
So good. So good.
Yeah, and Scotty did a great job. Scotty Anderson, our good friend from New Zealand, did a great job editing those, and those are on the YouTube channel if you ever want to take a glimpse into what that was like many years ago. Favorite
good plug there. Good job, Urs.
Yeah. My favorite Star Wars honey, you said Kira? Is that correct?
I did say Kira. That was tough, but yeah, I stand by Kira.
You're an Amelia Clark guy, if I recall correctly. You just think she seems very quite lovely. Like totally just one you'd want to bring home to mom. She's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%.
And my most recent return to SWGOH, I would agree with you. I feel like it's been a good return. I feel like what decided this to be good was me. Like, as stupid as that sounds, like
no, it is.
My heart is in it this time, and I think it shows.
I cheated a little bit because the first thing that came to my head was Better Than Expected, but I was like, that doesn't sound good. And then Triumphant popped in, so I threw that out there.
No, I actually would have preferred the Better Than Expected because I think it's better than expected too.
But you already know that that it's been better than expected, right? Like you already know that. I feel like Triumphant is more of like a compliment than just something that I assume you already know. Like it's been a success. It was, at least from my perspective, certainly better than. I think
well, so for you guys that don't know, me and Freebot have talked about this for like a long time and like what it would look like and what it would be and whether or not it was a good idea. And we batted this around for years, a couple years probably. And it was like we very much dismissed it every time. And I think I just got sort of tired of variety and we chased it a little bit. And you know what? Like I love to care about it again. I love to be like creative and do fun things again. And, one of the measures of success for me is concurrent viewership on stream. And by far our biggest stream every week is on Friday night when we do the performance GAC and we put on the whole show and we have a good time. And so I think that's sometimes it's like 150 watching that. That's pretty awesome, man. That feels great.
Yeah, the numbers have been great for especially the Friday GA streams, but even the Wednesday ones, which are just a step down in effort, even those numbers have been really strong as well.
Yeah. And it's all been good stuff. So yeah, I appreciate that and kind words, Freebot. It's nice to hear like that you see what I see and you're feeling what I'm feeling. So thank you for that.
I mean, you've earned all of it. All the work you put in was obvious with all the new intros and the commercials and save the Banthas here.
Oh, he's got it. He's got the Save the Banthas. You guys can get your own Save the Banthas hoodie or t-shirt if you want. Stop on by the Teespring shop. I didn't see. I couldn't tell, but that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I looked earlier and I realized you can't tell, so I figured I would showcase it real quick there.
Oh my gosh, what a stud. All right, Freebot, fill in the blank here. You're going to get controversial with this one.
You sure you want your mod to break his PC here?
No, yeah, you're going to get controversial. That's the whole point of this, all right?
Okay, let's do it.
The single worst decision Capital Games ever made with Galaxy of Heroes was ...
Oh my God.
I know you got an answer for this. You've seen it all. You saw
Okay,
Modpocalypse day one.
When General Skywalker came out and
Okay.
he was a 5-star unlock after all the investment it took to get him.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I'll try not to go off on too much of a tangent here. I spent a little bit of money on the game, not a ton. Early on, I probably spent more than I have like the last 3, 4, 5 years, whatever. I didn't spend for a long time, like in the middle span of my CG or SWGOH playing career.
Yeah.
The reason was because of gas. So I've never ever whaled on a character. I had to spend a bunch of crystals to get Shock T up to 7 stars in order to be able to get gas the first time.
Yep.
So I spent money to get gas, which was like a big thing for me because I would spend like 10, 20 bucks here and there, little calendars, whatever, no big deal. I spent decent money to be able to get Shock T up to 7 stars and get gas the first go round. He was 5-star unlock after all that work, not just the investment of resources, but time, because that event was difficult when
Yep. I remember it.
like Gear 13 was insane to get or whatever.
Yep.
And he was basically useless. Like you killed him, you used him to kill Night Sisters, and that was it until he was 7 stars and could actually withstand.
I forgot
beating.
that they did that. The 5-star unlock.
It was such a turnoff, and I wonder how much they hurt themselves with people spending money, because how many people were like me where they spent very, very little or maybe even none, but then because they loved General Skywalker, they spent and couldn't freaking use him for months and months because you had to spend the, I don't even remember what currency it was now.
Or something, and get
Get
two.
two.
Yeah.
It was months to
Yep.
get him from 5 stars to 7 stars after the initial investment, which was insane. Is that actually CG's worst thing? No, probably not. But that's what stands out in my head because personally, how it affected me.
Yeah, it's stuff like that you remember, right? Like where maybe
We'll never forget.
They don't. Maybe they don't even remember like that. But I totally forgot it was a 5-star unlock, and I forgot how difficult it was to get. I think of like the first day of mods. That's the first day of mods where like Royal Guard was like unkillable, and like there was just so much goofy stuff happening with mods. And then,
Didn't you get like 65 speed secondary or something just insane?
It was just like ridiculous. And, they fixed it pretty quick. But man, the game was broken for 48 hours, I remember. Something like that.
It was busted.
Yeah,
it
just
was
completely
totally
broken. Completely broken. And I remember that was the only time I ever felt like this game could fold at any moment. Like, I've never felt that. And, man, when it was completely broken for 3 days, like, that was insane.
Yeah.
All right.
They rebounded.
Yeah, they did. They got it right. They fixed it quick.
Yeah.
All right. Guess the Holotable hero, Freebot. 1 minute on the clock. Now, I'm sure you've listened to Love on the Holotables before. You know how this goes. But I'm always going to recommend that you guess, you think faction tags. That's usually the best way to approach this.
Yep.
Are you ready?
Born ready.
1 minute on the clock. Guess the Holotable hero. Go.
Light side.
Yes.
Rebel.
No.
Jedi.
No.
Galactic Republic.
No.
Ewok.
No.
Wookiee.
No.
Droid.
No.
Gungan.
No.
Clone.
No.
Phoenix.
No. You've thought of them all, but think unaligned force users and scoundrels.
Unaligned force users and scoundrels. Cat.
No.
Unaligned force users and scoundrels.
19 seconds left.
Resistance.
No.
So like Scavenger Ray.
No.
She's not a scoundrel. Scoundrel unaligned force user. Seer.
You got it! Seer Junda with 55 seconds. I had
That's
to give you a hint because
Yeah, how many light side
you
factions?
made-
I was running out of.
the fact that you named
Like-
that many factions without getting anything, I was like, I have to give this guy a hint. There's no way he's going to remember Scoundrel and Unaligned Force User.
Yeah, I would have gotten there, but it would have been so late. I would not have worked my way to Seer. I'm sure I didn't name all the light side factions, but what I
You
missed,
named close to
Jawa.
them. You missed Jawa.
I
That
missed
was-
Jawas.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I missed.
I think
501st, I guess, but I said
and
clones,
Bad
so it only
Batch,
would.
yeah,
Yeah.
that like
Goodness gracious.
the fact that you named everything but those two, I was like, I gotta help him because this is like ridiculous.
Yeah, that was unexpected. So I came in with somewhat of a game plan here because, like you said, I've obviously watched this before.
Yep.
If you said no to light side, I was going to guess Hondo and Naka because I watched this podcast and nobody ever entertains the aspect that it could be neutral.
It's gonna happen.
If you say no to light side, they just jump to dark side. They don't even ask. They just start guessing Empire, Sith.
I don't think I'm that cruel, but maybe
I would have done it by now, and I would have just completely screwed somebody over. But I was prepared, and I was like, gosh, I hope it is Hondo, because what if I say light side, you say no, and then I say, is it Hondo? And that'd be amazing. Can you imagine? I'd have felt really good about that.
Oh
People would have claimed being rigged, so maybe it's good that it didn't go that way. Exactly. But that felt good. Getting there at the end, that felt good.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, everybody. Well, I'd like to thank our guest here. He's the Freebot, the innovator of line, the original Son of this Hall producer extraordinaire, mod savant, and mathematical terrorist. Freebot, any plugs you want to get in?
Oh, wow. Yeah, twitch.tv/URZZZ and discord.gg/URZZZ. That's all I got. That's where you can find me.
Yeah, he's our guy. We appreciate him so very much. You can catch me on Twitch 4 times a week with Performance GACs on Friday nights. It's the ultimate Grand Arena party. The Hall Alliance is always recruiting. Freebot, you need a guild. I think I heard you need a guild. No?
I'll talk to Go Cubs. I'll get back to you.
Let us know if you need a guild. We're always recruiting. Follow me on X or come slum it in that scriff hole, better known as the Hall Discord. I'm around. You can find me. That wraps us up this week, manifesting you all health, happiness, and the most potent drop rates possible. Please get to your ship safely. And I'll see you out on them Holotables. Good night, everyone.
If you enjoyed this episode of Love on the Holotables, be sure to show your support by liking this content and leaving a comment wherever you get your podcasts. Also, consider joining the best Star Wars community at discord.gg/urs or attending a Hall livestream at twitch.tv/urs. Thank you, and remember, the Force will be with you always.